Hey awesome people of YouTube, welcome back to another video. In this one, it's going to be different than the games I've done pretty much. This one is going to be kind of comparing Diablo 4 versus Path of Exile, right? Both games are somewhat similar, RPG, kill a bunch of stuff, you loot, dungeon looters pretty much. But before we get started, I just want to remind that if we can get to 575 subscribers by Christmas, we'll be doing $25 gift card giveaway. And I do Shimon Cake. I'm back from a little vacation. I do have my own Discord. You can join and talk about a bunch of games. And we do have channel membership, so if you want to help support the channel, it's literally the cheapest I can make. And if you want to, help me out with or tell me what you might be interested to see, I would like to know. Leave the comment down. Well, leave the comment. But with all that said, let's talk about Diablo a bit and Path of Exile. So both are similar games, but there are pretty distinct difference. I grew up on Diablo, so I played it a good amount. But once Path of Exile came out, which was a while ago, I've been hooked on it. Played the game for over like 6,000-7,000 hours, and I enjoyed the game more than Diablo. And a few things why is it has more in-game content, right? There's more stuff to do, but it's also been out for a while. But before we get into it, Diablo has a little bit shorter story, it's a little more linear, kind of. It does have you running around a lot, in the open world, so it's different in that aspect. Versus Path of Exile, which has, as you can see, acts. Act 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for part 1, and for part 2, it's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? One of the big differences on Path versus Diablo is once you reach Act 6, you beat Act 5, you kind of go back to the similar areas, but it's different. Much different things happen, all of that, but also your resistances, they drop down by 30. And when you beat Act 10, you beat, so to speak, as a lot of people call it, tutorial, you lose another 30. So in total, you lose 60 resistances, which might seem like a lot, but you can offset it. Like you see, I have it offset, and I do have some gear that reduces one of my resistances by a lot. And Path of Exile has a lot more builds. Some are super viable, some are less viable, some are just meme builds, some are just kind of crappy. Versus Diablo that has less builds, and I'm gonna show you that in a second, right? In Diablo, you're kind of stuck with a character. If you have a melee character, you're kind of stuck with that. Versus Diablo, you can have a melee character who's shooting bow and arrow, who is summoning totems. You can have a ranger who's pure melee on the summoning stuff. You can do that, and the skill trees are different. I'm gonna show you this, and a lot of people, if you've never seen it, might be like, "What the is this?" And I was the same. Is the skill tree? Look at this. It is massive, right? Depending what class you pick will also determine where you start. So for example, I'm a ranger, I start on the right side. If I was like a general class, aka Scion, I'll be in the middle. If I was a Templar, I believe, yeah, I'll be right here. If I was a witch, I'll be up here. You start anywhere, right? Well, it starts not anywhere, but you start in a predetermined location. But you can go to the other class of stuff, Like you see, I'm going towards the top, and I went down towards the middle and the bottom a little bit. And you can do that. You can make your own build with whatever you want. And the skill tree doesn't pick what kind of abilities you use. It is determined by different things called skill gems. Oop, wrong button. And you can buy them, you can get them as rewards, or you can buy them from merchants throughout your story, right? You're gonna have something like Toxic Rain, which is what I use, and it is literally just me shooting poison arrows that explode well, get into Path of Explode and do damage. You can have a explosive area. You can do just totems who do a bunch of stuff. You can do whatever you want. You can have it on a 4 link, a 2 link, 1 link, 5 link, 6 link. And what I mean by links is the links are you usually put support gems to make that skill a lot better. So, for example, my Toxic Crane, I have 5 different support gems that make that skill a lot better. You know, they make it a lot stronger. I know in Path or not Path, sorry, in Diablo you have somewhat similar with skill trees, but this goes in depth more. So yes, you do spend more time, kind of a bit more time in story, but you get more stuff out of here, and you can get over 100 skill points because max level is 100, but you get extra skill points just by doing certain quests. Unfortunately, you can't have that on Diablo. Diablo, in my opinion, is a little bit more casual player. You know, there are some players who just go hard and grind it out, do the best stuff, do the most hardest stuff, and that's okay, right? But in my opinion, Diablo is a little bit more towards casual player. You know, there's no complicated stuff like getting links on your gear, having a massive giant skill tree, right? There's no, excuse me, there's no pick a skill gem and figure out a build with it. You know, you kind of have it somewhat easy there. But here, it's a lot more complicated. And for some people, it might be a turnoff. You know, at first it was kind of like, oof, I don't know. But as I started playing, making my own build, a little, which, let me tell you, failed drastically, I enjoyed the game more and I started doing. And at that time, I believe it was 2016, 2017, I, maybe even 20, no, it wasn't 2018. There was not as much in-game content. There was still a little more in-game content than Diablo has right now, but that in-game content grew and the developers take a lot of feedback and certain in-game content rotates, you know. You have seasonal content that stays for the some of the parts, you know. Like Menagerie, which is you capture beasts and you can craft some stuff. That stays. Delve, which is like or mine, you know, you go in and explore there. You have the Forbidden Sanctum. Some of the old seasonal stuff stay there. You have instead of sigils, you have what's called maps, and you can purchase them. Right? You also get them as a drop. As close you get to completing the tutorial or the acts, but you also can purchase them from certain people. And currency, we'll get into in a second, is more so. There's not 100 tiers, right? There's only, I believe, let me double check. Yeah, there's only 16 tiers, but each tier has a certain amount of maps. Like tier 1 has only 4, while tier 2 has a lot more, you know, has 8, versus tier 11 has 6, you know, and it changes, right? Then you have the unique maps, then you have different like mini bosses to get to the big bad bosses maps. So you can also make those maps a little more difficult for more rewards. Like, for example, I can run this map just by itself, you know, or I can put one of the currency called chisels to make it give higher item quantity and quality, right? I can also make it slightly better. I can get it from just a common to a blue, you know, by using one of the currencies. Now I get more item quantity, item rarity, master pack size, or I can make it a rare with another what should we call it, currency, and you can get better maps that give you a lot more rewards. And currency in this game is a lot different than Diablo. Diablo, you have gold. That's pretty much it. In this game, you have a bunch of different currency. You have a whole ton of currencies you can see here, right? That you can use to either trade, which more commonly are used like Chaos Orb, Divine Orbs, and Exalted Orbs. But you have other currency that you can use to maybe purchase stuff or change certain stuff in your gear and etc. You have different exotic gear currency. You have like ores, which is kind of like a currency. You have a bunch of different old seasonal stuff that kind of can act as a current currency, but will help. You have like divination cards, which if you collect a set, you get certain item. Like if I collect 7 of this cards, I get 16 item, which is pretty good. You have essences, which is like mini currency that, depending what level of the essence you get, will determine what stats you get, and it shows you what you can get, right? Then you have a bunch of tabs, but there is a bit of a drawback because on Diablo you can advertise your stuff via Discord, and in game, and you can do that here. You have plenty of Path of Exile Discords, and you can advertise in trade chat. But if you want to have a lot easier time to sell, you're gonna need to spend a little bit of money. Not necessarily a lot. You can buy a currency tab so you can hold currency better. That costs some money. Map tab, oils tab. Forget which one is this. Ultimatum tab. Delirium tab. Fragment tab. Which one is this? Sorry, I keep forgetting. Delve, cards, essences, and then just pure trade ones. Yes, it's gonna cost you some money, and you can get away without doing it. They do have stash tab sales, so you can buy, just the guild flash tab, which is I don't recommend. For a certain amount of points, you can purchase these points. You can buy a few tabs for relatively cheap, especially if they do the sales, and they do the sales pretty consistent. I believe every month or twice or every 2 months, or not every 2 months, or every month or every 2 weeks. You can spend what, 50 or $5 and get a tab. You can, first thing when I get a good tab, you can get gem tab, or if you spend a little bit more, you can get a bunch of tabs and just buy a bunch. Yes, it's gonna cost you. You can upgrade your old tabs to a premium stash tab, so you get 4 tabs. They're this ones. You can change them into premium ones where you can sell stuff and you can store stuff, so you don't need to. And if you're part of the guild or play with teammates that do have tabs, you can do that, and you can join guilds, and have fun with your friends. But there's so much more content. Like I mentioned, just trading. I mentioned the maps, and there's plenty of unique maps that may take a little bit hard stuff to get to. There are some unique maps that are really hard. You need special build to complete them, right? And you can get paid for doing that. There's ascendancy, which is kind of like a mini skill tree, which you need to complete a different thing to get. Which Diablo unfortunately does not have. Which, as you can see, is this thing. And you get 2 skill points for a maximum of 8 because you have 4 different labyrinths, or as people call it, lab. There are just so much more stuff. You have that. You can get through those mini bosses that I talked. Different ones. You can get different end game bosses, or get the bosses to get even next level bosses. You can get special bosses that are hard to fight with, like the sacrifices, or with hopes, or different stuff. There's just so much more in game, and the game costs nothing. You can make a seasonal character, you can standard character. It's up to you. And for the most part, there's plenty of builds out there to get you started on the right path. There's also plenty of websites and stuff like that, YouTubers who can help you with builds. And if you want to see like the build that I'm using, which I'm using one of the more famous YouTuber / streamer builds, which is pretty amazing, gets me through. It is, in my opinion, I wish Diablo will eventually get to this point, and I do believe they can if they continue to put in work. But Path of Exile has just been doing decent content after content after content, and the game is sometimes hard and challenging, but it is so much more rewarding to, oh, you know, I want to try using this skill and see if I can make my own build. Okay, I can clear this. You can have a builds that I mentioned that are like speed farming builds, just clear maps after maps after maps. You have builds that are just pure currency farming, who do builds fast but have more quantity and stuff like that where you can get rich. You have builds that just pure bossing or not as fast. You have plenty of builds which unfortunately Diablo is not versatile, not as Path, because there's just on the limited amount of skills you can have. And Diablo, yes, their meta shifts a little bit. Path meta shifts a lot. The one time it'd be melee bids are superior. You know, they're just pure OP. Other time it would be like totems or minions or poison or just this and that. It just versatility here is a lot more, and I wish Diablo was there, and which is why, in my opinion, Path is a lot better game right now. It probably will be for quite a while than Diablo. You know, you can. Oh, speaking of some of the stuff, you can get cosmetics for free. There's to go through the challenges if you complete certain things. Like for the beginner, if you get equip magic flask, get a magical rare item from the vendor, use an orb of alchemy, complete a labyrinth trial. You can get one of the challenges completed. And once you complete enough, you can get certain rewards. Like by completing 16 challenges, you can get full set of Night Locus. If you keep completing up to 26, you get tier 2. And if you complete 38 out of 40, you can get tier 3. And some of them are really hard. Like really like pure endgame. Now some of like this, complete massive tiers of scarabs. That's gonna take a while, you know. Pick the pinnacle, kill the Cyrus, which is one of the super bosses, Elder, Maven, a bunch of other stuff. There's just a lot of endgame stuff, and you can get rewarded for completing those challenges, which unfortunately is not as there as Diablo. But I'm gonna end the talk here. I do love Path. I've been spending a lot of time, and if do let me know what you think about each game down in the comments, if you like Diablo or Path, and tell me why. I want to know truly. But with all that said, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, help the channel out. Don't forget to stay awesome, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.